Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Super English Talks. I'm your host, Jeannie, and today we're diving deep into a topic that many of you have been asking about lately: how to practice speaking English when you're all alone. Now, I know what you might be thinking: practicing alone. That sounds a little strange. Maybe even like talking to yourself in a mirror or, well, to the wall. But stick with me, because I promise you, solo practice can be surprisingly effective, and it's a genuine game changer for many language learners. In fact, it almost feels like a secret weapon. Think of it like a solo workout at the gym. You're in control. You're focusing on your own pace and goals. And speaking practice is the exact same idea. It offers less pressure, and it's definitely more flexible for your busy schedule. Today, we're going to unpack why solo practice is so powerful, and then we'll dive right into a whole arsenal of practical, actionable strategies you can start using today to boost your English fluency, even without a conversation partner. Asterisk Chapter 1. The Power of Solo Practice. Why it works. Let's start by addressing a common misconception and then highlight a massive advantage of going solo. Speaking from the beginning, a game changer, an idea that really caught my attention, and perhaps it will yours too, is the notion of starting to speak right from the very beginning of your English learning journey. Now, you might be wondering, Jeannie, shouldn't I master all this grammar and vocabulary first? Shouldn't I have a solid foundation before I even attempt to open my mouth? This is a common myth. And actually, the opposite is true. Speaking actively, even with a limited vocabulary and shaky grammar, helps to cement those grammar rules and vocabulary concepts you're learning. It pushes you to think directly in English, forcing your brain to bypass that often slow and clunky process of translating in your head from your native language. It's about building direct neural pathways for English, and there's solid research to back this up. For instance, a 2016 study by the University of Michigan found something quite remarkable. Learners who started speaking right away, even with very limited vocabulary, actually outperformed those who waited. They saw a significant 20% boost in fluency and a 15% improvement in grammar accuracy. Can you believe it? A 20% increase in fluency just by jumping in and speaking early. That's huge. So, starting to speak from day one truly gives you a learning advantage. It's something I wish I had known when I was struggling through Spanish. Verb conjugations, stuck in textbooks, and then freezing up when I tried to have an actual conversation. You're not alone if you felt that way. Eliminating the fear of mistakes, your safe space. That brings us to another great advantage of practicing English all by yourself. You eliminate the fear of making mistakes in front of others. This is a huge roadblock for so many learners. When you're alone, you can experiment freely. You can stumble over words. You can mispronounce things. You can try again and again without feeling judged or embarrassed. It's your personal safe space to really play with the language, to make all the oops moments you need. Taking that pressure off is always a good thing, and it allows for much more authentic and courageous learning. Think of it as your private laboratory for English experimentation. Chapter 2. boosting pronunciation and fluency, solo strategies now that we understand the why. Let's dive into the how. How can we actively improve our pronunciation and overall fluency when we're practicing alone? Shadowing. Becoming an English parrot in a good way. Speaking of playing with language, let's talk about a technique called shadowing. What's the deal with that? Shadowing is all about mimicking native speakers. Here's how you do it. First, find an audio or video clip that you enjoy. This could be a scene from your favorite movie, a snippet from a podcast, a YouTube video, or even a short news report. The key is to choose something with clear audio and, ideally, a speaker whose accent you admire. Once you have your clip, you simply repeat what you hear immediately after the speaker, trying to match their pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation as closely as possible. So, yes, you're essentially turning yourself into an English parrot, but in the most effective way. But how does simply repeating things help you speak better? It's much more than just repetition. Think about how children naturally learn to speak. They listen to and imitate the sounds, patterns, and nuances of the language around them. Shadowing replicates that very natural process. It helps you internalize the natural flow and sounds of English, improving your ear for the language. And crucially, it trains your mouth muscles to move in the right way to produce English sounds, accents, and connected speech. It's like absorbing the language through osmosis, a gradual, unconscious learning process. It's pretty cool. And it's a fantastic way to refine your accent and sound more natural. Singing along to English songs. Fun and effective. Here's one I know a lot of people are going to love. Singing along to English songs. Yes, you heard me right. This is way more fun than drilling grammar, isn't it? But can belting out tunes actually improve your speaking? You bet it can. Singing is absolutely fantastic for language learning. Firstly, it trains your mouth muscles and helps you practice intonation and rhythm in a natural, engaging way. You're mimicking native speakers, just like with shadowing, but with the added layer of music. Secondly, songs often expose you to slang and idioms you might not find in a traditional textbook, giving you a feel for real, everyday language. And thirdly, you're much more likely to remember words and phrases when they are set to music. The melody acts as a powerful memory aid. I can definitely attest to learning some interesting phrases from songs, maybe a few I shouldn't repeat here. But hey, it's all part of the cultural immersion, right? It's about expanding your vocabulary and absorbing cultural insights in an engaging and enjoyable way. So go ahead, find your favorite English tunes and sing your heart out. Reading aloud with audiobooks, synchronized can apply the same concept of combined listening and speaking to other audio forms, like reading aloud alongside an audiobook. This is like a synchronized reading session that helps you match your pace and pronunciation with a native speaker. Here's how it works. Find an audiobook that interests you, preferably one where you also have the text version. Listen to a sentence or a paragraph, then pause and read it aloud yourself, trying to match the narrator's speed, intonation, and pronunciation. You can even read along with the narrator simultaneously. This technique forces you to actively engage with the spoken word, reinforcing both your listening and speaking skills. It's an excellent way to improve your reading fluency, which often translates directly into speaking fluency as it helps you process language more quickly. It's also a great way to encounter new vocabulary in context and see how words are used in real sentences, memorizing speeches or monologues. Own the language ends, since we're on the topic of rehearsal. What about memorizing speeches or monologues? Could that be a helpful technique for solo speaking practice? It certainly can be, especially if you choose material that truly speaks to you, something you find inspiring, funny, or thought-provoking. This technique allows you to really focus on pronunciation, intonation, and delivering those lines with emotion and impact. You can practice the delivery over and over again until it feels natural. Plus, it's a fantastic way to build confidence and get comfortable projecting your voice and embodying the language. It's like giving yourself a mini performance, a chance to really own the language. You're not just speaking words. You're internalizing the rhythm and flow of a natural, compelling English delivery. And as a bonus, you can record yourself to identify areas for improvement.
Chapter 3. Expanding Vocabulary and Grammar. Solo methods shadowing and singing are great for pronunciation. But what about expanding your vocabulary and solidifying your grammar? There are some fantastic solo tips for building your word bank and understanding English structures better. Sentence mining. Learning in context, definitely. Instead of memorizing words in isolation, try sentence mining. This means learning entire sentences instead of just single words. Why? Because when you learn words in context, you grasp their subtle nuances. Understand their collocations, which words naturally go together, and learn how they're used naturally in real conversation. It sounds a lot more useful than just flashcards, doesn't it? But how do you even choose which sentences to mine? Think about your specific goals. What situations do you want to communicate in? Find sentences that are relevant to those situations. So, if you're learning English for travel, you might mine phrases related to ordering food, asking for directions, or booking a hotel. If you're learning for business, you'd look for sentences used in meetings, presentations, or negotiations. It's like building this personalized phrasebook tailored to your own needs and interests. That's brilliant. This approach is incredibly efficient because you're not just learning words, you're learning how to use them. It's funny, you know? When I hear native English speakers try to speak other languages, they often have this slightly off accent, like they're reading from a textbook. And that's often because they focus too much on individual words and grammar rules, missing the overall flow and natural phrasing of the language. Sentence mining helps you avoid that trap by focusing on natural chunks of language. Here's a thought. Listening to how native English speakers pronounce words that are similar or borrowed from your native language can actually give you valuable insights into the unique sounds and stress patterns of English. It's like using your own language as a decoder ring for English pronunciation, a fascinating perspective. The power of the English notebook, writing for retention. Another great tool for vocabulary and grammar is a dedicated English notebook. I'm a big notebook fan. Just jot down new words, grammar rules, interesting phrases, and even idioms you come across. But is writing things down actually better than just typing them on your phone or computer? Absolutely. Handwriting engages different parts of your brain, making those words and phrases stick with you better. It creates a stronger memory trace than typing. It's like a mental workout for your English muscles. You're physically interacting with the language, which enhances retention. You can also use your notebook to write example sentences for your new words. Draw diagrams for grammar rules, or even write short journal entries. This active engagement is key for moving information from short-term to long-term memory. Dictation. The listening, speaking, writing, link speaking of writing, and working out your English brain. Have you ever tried dictating your thoughts instead of just writing them down? Dictating, like talking to your phone and having it transcribe your words. That's the one. It might feel a little odd at first, like you're talking to yourself, which, well, you are. But it's an excellent way to practice speaking clearly and concisely. It forces you to think directly in English and formulate your thoughts in a way that makes sense when spoken aloud. You'll quickly notice if your sentences are too long, if your pronunciation is unclear, or if you're struggling to articulate your ideas. Yes, I'm picturing some hilarious autocorrect mishaps along the way, but I can definitely see how it would be a fun and challenging exercise. It can be surprisingly helpful for grammar and punctuation, too. You have to think about where to pause, how to structure your sentences, and how to use punctuation marks like commas and periods, even if you're not explicitly saying them, to create the right flow. It's like multitasking for your English brain, engaging multiple skills at once. Chapter 4. Immersing yourself alone, making English a daily habit. So, we've covered techniques for pronunciation, fluency, vocabulary, and grammar. How about making English a part of your daily life, even when you're alone? Any suggestions for solo activities that help you truly immerse yourself? Now we're getting to the exciting part. You can transform your daily routine into a powerful learning opportunity. Switching your digital environment to English for a start. Switch your phone or computer settings to English. This is a simple yet brilliant one. I did that a while back, and it's amazing how much practical vocabulary you pick up just from navigating menus, apps, and websites. You're constantly exposed to new words and phrases in practical, relevant contexts. It's passive learning that adds up quickly without feeling like a chore. You'll learn terms like settings, notifications, save, edit, delete, and many more, all in their natural environment. Leveraging YouTube and podcasts, your portable classroom manned. Speaking of digital resources, we absolutely cannot forget about YouTube. Yes, it's a goldmine for free English learning resources, wouldn't you say? Definitely. There are countless channels with structured lessons, grammar explanations, pronunciation tips, and even authentic examples of everyday language use. You're bound to find something tailored to your level and interests, from beginner lessons to advanced discussions on specific topics. It's like having a personal tutor right in your pocket, available 24/7. And don't forget podcasts. Podcasts are fantastic for this. There's a podcast for every interest imaginable, so you can find something you enjoy and listen while you're commuting, exercising, doing chores, or even just relaxing. Podcasts are like a portable English classroom. I love how they make learning feel like entertainment. Exactly. Don't be afraid to branch out and try different types of podcasts. You can listen to news podcasts to stay informed, interview podcasts to hear different perspectives, or storytelling podcasts to get lost in a narrative. Variety is the spice of life, and it's definitely the spice of language learning. It keeps things fresh and interesting, exposing you to different accents, speaking styles, and vocabulary. Flashcard apps, smart, not hard. Okay, let's circle back to vocabulary expansion. Flashcard apps are everywhere these days, aren't they? Are they worth the hype? Flashcards can certainly be helpful, especially for memorizing individual words. But here's a crucial tip. Don't get bogged down trying to learn thousands of words you might never use. Focus on the most frequently used ones first. You can understand and communicate a lot with a surprisingly small vocabulary, especially the first 2,000 to 3,000 most common words. That's good to know. It's about working smarter, not harder. Use spaced repetition systems often built into these apps, which show you words again just as you're about to forget them. Maximizing your memory retention. Learning from entertainment, Netflix, and beyond. So, how about something a bit more entertaining? Can I actually learn English from watching Netflix? Without a doubt, watching movies and TV shows immerses you in the language, helps you pick up natural expressions, and exposes you to different accents and dialects. For an extra boost, always use subtitles. I love subtitles, but I sometimes catch myself just reading them and not paying attention to the spoken language. Any tips for avoiding that trap? Yes. Try using English subtitles instead of your native language. This forces you to engage with the spoken words actively, connecting the sound to the written form. It's a fantastic way to improve both your listening and reading comprehension. There are also specialized apps and browser extensions. Lingapy, or the Netflix language learning extension, with features designed specifically for language learners, like dual subtitles, integrated flashcards, and the ability to easily pause and look up words. That's impressive. Technology is definitely making language learning more accessible and engaging. Start with content you're already familiar with in your native language, so you have the context already, which makes understanding the English version much easier.
Chapter 5. Creative Solo Practice Technique. Explore some more creative and perhaps even quirky ways to practice English alone. The rubber duck method, your attentive audience. This next technique sounds a bit quirky, but I'm intrigued. Tell me about the rubber duck method. Have you ever noticed how explaining things to someone else, even if it's a pet or an inanimate object, helps you clarify your own thoughts, right? That's the idea behind the rubber duck method. You choose an object. Yes, a literal rubber duck, or maybe a houseplant, a teddy bear, anything. And you pretend you're teaching it something in English. So I could literally explain the plot of my favorite movie to a rubber duck. Precisely. It might sound silly, and you might feel a little awkward at first, but it's a great way to practice organizing your thoughts, explaining concepts, and using language naturally and engagingly. You're forced to articulate your ideas, which is fantastic for developing fluency and coherence. You're actively retrieving vocabulary and grammar from your brain and putting it into spoken sentences. I'm all for embracing the silliness if it helps me improve. It's like giving a private lecture to a very attentive and non-judgmental audience. Self-talk and internal monologue. Thinking in English beyond talking to a rubber duck. One of the most powerful and accessible solo techniques is simply engaging in self-talk or internal monologue in English. This means consciously thinking, planning, and even commenting on your day-to-day activities inside your head, entirely in English. When you're getting ready in the morning, describe your actions. I'm brushing my teeth. I need to put on my shirt. The coffee is brewing. When you're making a decision, think through the pros and cons in English. When you're walking down the street, narrate what you see. The cars are driving fast. The sky is cloudy today. That dog is so cute. This trains your brain to think directly in English, reducing the need for translation. It builds fluency from the inside out and helps you identify gaps in your vocabulary or grammar that you can then actively research. It's a continuous, low-pressure way to practice role-playing scenarios, preparing for real conversations and other incredibly effective solo practice method is role-playing different scenarios. You might not have a partner, but you can imagine one. Think about real-life situations where you want to use English, ordering food at a restaurant, checking into a hotel, having a job interview, asking for directions, or even debating a topic with a friend. Then play out both sides of the conversation. Aloud. Don't be afraid to use different voices or tones for the different characters. This helps you anticipate questions and responses. What would the waiter ask? What would the hotel clerk say? Practice relevant vocabulary and phrases. You'll automatically think of words related to that specific situation. Improve your conversational flow. You practice initiating, responding, and maintaining a dialogue. Build confidence when you encounter a similar situation in real life. You'll feel more prepared because you've already rehearsed it. You can record these role-playing sessions and listen back to identify areas where you struggled or could improve your delivery. This is a powerful way to bridge the gap between passive learning and active conversational ability. Describing your sharpening observational vocabulary, this is a simple yet very effective exercise. Wherever you are in your room, at a cafe, waiting for a bus, start describing your surroundings aloud or silently in your head in English. Focus on details. Objects. That's a wooden table. There's a blue book on it. The window is open. Actions. The woman is reading a newspaper. The cat is sleeping on the couch. Colors, shapes, textures. The walls are painted a light yellow. The cushion is soft and patterned. Emotions, if applicable. The children look excited. The old man seems pensive. This practice forces you to activate your descriptive vocabulary, practice forming complete sentences, and improve your ability to articulate observations quickly. It's an immediate application of your learned vocabulary. Chapter 6. Staying motivated and making it a habit. Okay, before we sign off, I want to acknowledge that practicing alone can be tough sometimes. We all have those days when motivation dips. Any advice for staying motivated and making solo practice a consistent habit? Consistency over quantity. Small steps lead to big results. Absolutely. Remember that language learning is a journey, not a race. Be patient with yourself. Don't expect perfection overnight. Set realistic goals, celebrate your progress, and try different techniques to keep things fun. Small, consistent efforts lead to big results in the long run. Consistency and patience are key. Yes, they are. It's like any skill, some days you'll be firing on all cylinders, full of energy and enthusiasm, and others you'll just need to put in the work. Even if it feels a bit like a chore, the important thing is to show up consistently, even if it's just for a few minutes each day. No excuses for skipping a practice session entirely. Even 5 to 10 minutes of focused solo practice is better than none. Make it a non-negotiable part of your daily routine, like brushing your teeth or having your morning coffee. Setting clear goals and personalizing your plan with so many options for solo English practice. It can sometimes feel overwhelming. Any advice for choosing the right resources and creating a plan that feels manageable? It all starts with setting clear, specific goals. What aspects of English do you want to focus on right now? Is it pronunciation? Expanding your vocabulary? Improving your fluency? Or strengthening your grammar? Once you know your goals, you can choose resources and techniques that specifically target those areas. So it's like creating a personalized English learning menu. You get to pick and choose the activities that best suit your needs, interests, and current energy levels. That's the idea. And don't be afraid to experiment. If something feels too challenging, too boring, or not engaging enough, try something else. The important thing is to find activities that genuinely keep you motivated and excited to learn. So, finding that spark, that joy in the learning process is key. When you enjoy what you're doing, you're much more likely to stick with it, embracing mistakes, your learning curve. But before we get too philosophical here, I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier. The fear of making mistakes. It can be a real roadblock for learners, especially when they're practicing alone. Any advice for overcoming that fear and embracing those inevitable stumbles? It's so common to fear making mistakes, but the reality is mistakes are a natural and essential parts of learning. Think of it like a baby learning to walk. They fall countless times. They stumble. They wobble, but they don't give up. They keep trying until they master it. Language learning is the exact same way. Those stumbles, those mispronunciations, those grammatical errors, they're all part of the learning curve. So it's all about embracing those oops moments and learning from them. They are valuable feedback. And when you're practicing alone, you have the ultimate freedom to make mistakes without judgment. Use that freedom to experiment, try new things, and push yourself beyond your comfort zone. It's your safe space to play with the language, to try out different expressions, and to figure out what works best for you. Exactly. And remember, every single mistake is an opportunity to learn and grow. Don't let the fear of messing up hold you back from speaking up and expressing yourself. Wise words indeed. Cultivating a positive environment and mindset finally. Here's a crucial thought. Don't underestimate the power of your environment and your mindset. You mean surrounding myself with English books and movies? That's definitely part of it. Yes. Immerse yourself by having English music playing in the background, by labeling objects around your house with their English names, by subscribing to English newsletters, or by following English-speaking content creators on social media. But it's also about cultivating a positive and supportive mindset. Celebrate your victories, no matter how small they seem. Learn from your slip-ups without dwelling on them. And above all, enjoy the process. Learning a language should be a joyous experience, not a chore. It's about weaving English into the fabric of our lives, not just treating it like a subject to be conquered. That's it. And that's how you truly achieve fluency, by making English a natural and enjoyable part of your daily routine. What a fantastic way to think about it.
Chapter 7. Your Solo Journey to Fluency. So, we've covered techniques, resources, and motivation. It feels like we've explored every nook and cranny of solo English-speaking practice. Is there anything else learners should remember as they embark on this journey? Here's a final powerful truth. You don't need a classroom or a conversation partner to make real progress in English. No, you absolutely don't. Your solo journey can be just as rewarding and incredibly effective. Absolutely. And as you embark on this journey, remember that fluency isn't about reaching some elusive state of perfection, where you never make a mistake or sound exactly like a native speaker. It's about communication. It's about expressing yourself clearly and confidently, about connecting with others, and about experiencing the world through the vibrant lens of another language. It's about building confidence, not just vocabulary lists. It's about finding your voice, both literally and figuratively. This journey is about empowerment, about opening new doors, and about discovering new parts of yourself through the process of language acquisition. Embrace the process, be kind to yourself, and celebrate every small step forward. You've got this. Thank you so much for joining me today on Super English Talks, and for letting me share these insights on how to make language learning fun and accessible for everyone, especially when you're practicing alone. For all our listeners out there, I truly hope you feel inspired to start or enhance your own solo speaking practice. Choose a few techniques that resonate with you, set some achievable goals, and most importantly, remember to have fun along the way. Small steps, consistent effort, and a positive mindset, that's the ultimate recipe for success in language learning. And before we sign off, if you found this episode helpful, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Super English Talks YouTube channel for more valuable language learning tips. Until next time, happy learning, everyone!